The couch of common sense. It just makes sense. You know what? The couch of common sense.
Hey guys, it's another episode of the Couch of Common Sense. What am I going to talk about today? You can see on the banner going by underneath, it says, what exactly is racism? Wow, that's like a big question. Okay, it's a big question. You know, it's quite how can I say, it's quite a tense subject as well. It's quite can be quite a heated subject. And you know, and I find sometimes the way it's approached makes it difficult to analyze, to understand in certain ways. You know, there's lots of I don't know, negative energy and all this kind of stuff in the subject in itself. So it makes it very difficult to approach and kind of apply any logic. And the question is, why has the subject of racism ended up on the couch of common sense? You know why? Because it don't make sense. That's why racism has ended up on the couch of common sense today. I want to read something first and then, you know, get into it. You know, I'm pretty kind of spontaneous. All right. So check this out. So let's have a look if I can read it properly. Right. Oh, that's not very good. Right, here we go. The definition of racism. This is it could be Wikipedia but it's online. I got it from. Prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized, a program, so, and then there's something else talking about program to, what's it called, combat racism, okay, under here. What I find interesting about racism, and I'm not going to talk about racism from a point of view from a black guy, or from a particular ethnic group or race or anything. I don't want to talk about racism from that point of view. There's a reason for that, right? Obviously, when I was growing up, you know, I experienced various degrees of racism as I was growing up. But I don't want to approach it from that angle today. I want to approach it from a different angle today. And the angle I want to approach it from is racism as a tool. Racism used as a tool, right? And what do I mean by used as a tool? And I'm going to refer to my notes, so I'm not kind of running off my head type thing and just kind of making stuff up. I'm talking racism as a tool used to devalue, a tool used to validate abuse and discrimination, a tool used to manipulate the narrative to one's own gains and outcomes, right? And when I look at racism, I see it as a kind of currency, right? You know, in a basic kind of way, if you've got everybody who's equal, then a system is invented to devalue a group or devalue devalue a situation, so that you can validate your right, that you are that the other group are inferior to you, and thus giving you a reason why you should be in charge, or why you should be, why you're worth more, and why your ideas and your concepts are more important and should be heard than other groups. And that's interesting, what I find with the racism situation, because it makes no sense. And the reason it makes no sense to me, I think racism is absolutely a product of education in certain ways. And there's some deliberate factors involved in that. What I would say, I think racism, if people were really educated about the situation, if they really understood who, as a species, we are, where we came from, the racism situation wouldn't make any sense. We are all the same. We are all from the same gene pool. We are the same species. We are 99% identical to each other. So in regards to being inferior and our capabilities and our differences, it's an education point of view. And people, I believe that the systems, the global authority, the systems, they have manipulated the education to favor their narrative and how they want things to be. Because, if I want to know about the weather, it's quite easy. You'll find a weather program, and you want to know about the news in certain ways. If they want to advertise products and various things like that, it's quite easy. It's very easy to get the product. You want to see something or learn about something. It's quite easy to find those subjects. They're quite willing to. They're quite willing to tell you about the weather. They're quite willing to tell you about things you can buy. They're quite willing to tell you, just their own narrative. But my question is, and what I find not so much in general circulation, I don't find information based on, the true origin of us and where we come from. I've grown up, loving the things like watching things like David Attenborough programs and programs on where we actually came from, and Brian Cox and these various people and scholars who educate you about where you actually come from, not from a commercial value, but more of an understanding who you are, what you are, and where you come from. And from my perspective, if you really understand that and you know where we come from, you would understand that everybody around you is the same. We're all the same. And so it doesn't make sense, because when you have this prejudice, discrimination, this antagonism, this stuff, it's not factual. It's not based on facts. When people behave in that way, it's not based on facts. They're adjusting the narrative to suit the outcome for themselves. Because the same way where you may find that, I don't know, I don't want to get too direct or particular in particular instances, because I'm talking about racism as a function and how it is illogical. Where you look at the Nazis, and they had to devalue the Jewish people and the people that they persecuted. They had to devalue in order for them to feel that they could validate their behavior. So it showed that they used it as a kind of currency. And, so to me, it's like, when you want to, when those who perpetrate that kind of behavior, when they want to achieve a certain goal, from greed, from hatred. They use racism as a currency to manipulate, devalue, and to validate their behavior. And that to me is what racism is. It's the outcome of racism, and the behavior is terrible. And it has what's it called, horrific outcomes based on, you know, it can extend into horrific outcomes, as we know throughout history. You know, again, I didn't want to look at it from the point of view, from a black man's point of view, but obviously there are historical issues in regards to that, which you can easily point to. You can look at someone like Donald Trump and just absolutely see how he tried to use the currency of racism to change the outcome of the election. Donald Trump doesn't care about, you know, black this or that. He doesn't care. He just wanted to achieve his goal. And he used racism as a currency to manipulate the narrative. So from my perspective, what I think is the best way to attack racism, it is through education. And it is to kind of point out that racism isn't a kind of black and white thing. It isn't. Racism is based on greed and a desire to convert the world to your own narrative. And you know, you have to, because the differences between us in regards to our values and you know, respect and equality, because it's not, because it's that should be a natural situation, they have to invent something which is unnatural to cancel it out or to manipulate it. And the thing that is unnatural that they inject into the situation is racism. So they use it, like I keep saying, I keep using this word currency, but it does ring in my head that anytime if you think of it as a kind of an economic system, and you want to trade, and everything is equal, it makes it difficult for you to make a profit. It makes it difficult for you to get, you know, to move above other people. You know, I say other people, but we're using it from a human point of view. But it makes it difficult to get ahead and move above people in that way. So one of their ways, or the people who perpetrate that kind of behavior, inject a negative equity, which is race, the concept of racism, where they devalue something so that the item and what they hold has value. Then that person or those people have to use more of their currency to be equal to this inflated, unnatural currency, which is racism. So it's like a funny way of talking about it, but I'm saying the way we attack is to understand what it is and why people use it, and not pretend that it's a genuine situation based on factual information. It, you know, it is really based on greed and having to invent a system to allow people to perpetrate certain types of behavior. And that's why, you know, racism has ended up on the couch of common sense, because from my perspective, I absolutely love people. I don't always want to talk about it from my point of view. I absolutely love people and I love humans, and, you know, I do feel a slight responsibility to people around me. I do feel connected to people. I'm not talking about, you know, run around hugging and kissing and jumping on everybody. I don't mean that. I mean, I do feel a connection. I do feel a connection to people and a slight responsibility that my behavior is connected to all the people around me, kind of thing. And I think we need to look at the situation through different eyes. And I think, and this is the point I think I want to kind of get to, is that I believe the same way that we broadcast the news, the same way that we broadcast the weather, and you have certain series and things on. I think at a government level, I'm not saying at, because absolutely there are programs. There are programs that are on, you know, people make fantastic programs about the history of, you know, they make absolute fantastic programs and educational programs and informative programs about historic events and things like that. I go one step further. I think it should be actually kind of compulsory. I think it should be a subject in school. Equality should be a subject in school. That's what I think. I think that it needs to be expressed that that is general knowledge, that it's factual, that we are the same. It's not, you know, some kind of a program that someone's watched and they've just picked up a bit of education about it's possible that we came from, you know, out of Africa and we did this and blah, blah, blah. No, the same way, like when we had the pandemic and we had the, you know, and also the same way you have party political broadcasts, you know, when the Conservatives want to spread their narrative, Labour, Liberal, you know, Green Party, all the guys, when they want to spread their narratives, it's done in that particular way. You know, why not use the same system? The same system they use to sell and advertise all these things, why not use that system to sell and advertise equality? Why does equality and that type of narrative have to always come via charity or always come as some sort of after some sort of event or thing that happens? Why does it have to come out in that way? Why isn't it a normal narrative that is taught consistently from the very beginning at all times? And the reason I feel that that's not the case, I feel from a global authority point of view, I don't think they're 100% comfortable with that narrative, because it means that they cannot, when they need to, devalue situations, devalue groups, and devalue markets and various things to their own gain. Because if they were spreading the narrative that we're all the same, we're all equal, it would affect their ability to devalue and to apply their negative currency. And I'm not saying it's just a government problem and all this kind of nonsense, because we are the government. In a sense, we are those things. You know, we talk about Boris and Trump and all that stuff. Trump is he's a product of society. Trump is not an alien. Trump didn't land on this planet from the planet foolishness and start his foolishness. He was born on this planet and his environment generated that foolishness. And that environment is here already. So we need to stop looking outside. Excuse me, sorry. We need to stop looking outside and blaming the government and all those people and those guys for our behavior. They're a product of the system. We are a product of the system. I think the more of us think in a particular way and create that environment, the more chance we have of it rising to the top and that being a global narrative. We need that to be our global narrative, that we all came from the same place, Forget my color of my skin. Forget all that nonsense. It does not mean anything. It is not the facts. It is not the facts. I'm proud of who I am, and people should be proud of their heritage, where they come from, all the things about them. They should love all the things about them. Doesn't matter where you come from. But the global narrative is we are the same. We are the same. This racism thing, it is unnatural. It is unnatural. It is a product of greed. It's a product of, focusing hate. Sometimes people use the racism, it's from a hate point of view. They have a certain hatred, and they have a reason to have hate because things have not been a certain way for them. Their life has turned out a certain way. So they find a way. And here is that point. Certain groups and leaders, hence the likes of Hitler and various people, Mussolini and various people, they use that negative currency, that racism, to manipulate the mass, to fulfill their narrative. And that's what we as a global population need to remember. Don't get manipulated for that narrative. Always apply sense. Always apply common sense. Always apply common sense. And that's why racism, the subject itself, today has ended up on the couch of common sense. Like I said, I'm not looking at this from a point of view of a black man or, from that perspective. I'm saying I'm looking at it from the perspective of a human being and saying racism, it don't make sense. If you think about it, if you educate yourself about it, racism doesn't make sense. And, even Ronald Reagan, a funny thing which he said, I don't say it's funny, but, if we were faced with a situation outside of this earth, if we were being attacked from something external to this planet, we'd all group together. We'd all help each other and we'd all fight against this entity that's attacking us and all this kind of nonsense. So it tells you something. It tells you there is a point when we will stand as one. There is a point when we will believe that we are all in the same basket. And I'm saying to you, we have always been in the same basket. We were born in the same basket, and we have originated from the same basket. We don't need outside influence to confirm the factual information that we are the same. So from your point of view and my point of view, and I say to everybody, check the racism scenario. Does it make sense for anybody who behaves a certain way or has a currently has a particular narrative? Before you decide to devalue somebody or to kind of pick them out or attack someone based on their difference and based on their race and where they're from, have a think about what I said. We are the same. And, with racism, it don't make sense. So if we're going to change this, educate people, make it a specific subject. Don't call it racism, call it equality. Make it a subject. Make it something that's studied in school, that we understand that we are all the same. It doesn't matter where or who, where you were born. Doesn't matter your name, your language. We are all the same. And also included in that, in a certain way, 100%, is all the life on Earth. We all have the same DNA. We all have the same DNA. So next time you go out or you think a certain way, just remember, that is the underlying truth. That is the undeniable and underlying truth. We are all the same. Do not devalue anyone or anything. We are all the same. That's the Couch of Common Sense today. At any point, you can drop me a message on Facebook. There's a page, the Couch of Common Sense. On Saturdays, I do a program with my cousin WG, Saturday Morning Jam, and after Saturday Morning Jam, the Couch of Common Sense follows, and we kind of pick up on subjects like these. Sometimes some subjects can be a little bit sensitive and stuff, and we approach them in a kind of, I don't mean to offend anybody, or I don't mean to, so I try to be quite evenly minded, and I'll 100% always say, this is my thoughts and how I think about things, and I may begin thinking a certain way, and then someone says something that just makes sense, and you know what? I'll change my point of view. If it's common sense and it makes sense, I'll change the way I think about it. So, this is all about strong views held lightly, and that's what it means. So, thanks for being with me today, and you can always check out other subjects and stuff that we've spoken about. You can just check the videos and check in. But if not, hit the follow button, and maybe we can have a conversation at some point. But the Couch of Common Sense is not about me preaching. It's about me discussing things which make sense and are common sense, and hopefully, it might influence some people's thoughts, or my thoughts might get influenced based on people I interact with. So it's all about an education. But like I said, racism, it don't make sense. So till next time, guys, I'm just going to hit up on my I like to play my little jingle. I haven't got it fully hooked up yet, so I'm going to get my jingle working, and here we go.
This feature, please make sure your app is running and can access the internet.
There we go.
The Couch of Common Sense. It just makes sense.
Just makes sense.
You know what? The Couch of Common Sense.
So guys, I'll see you next time on the Couch of Common Sense. And you can drop me a line, give me a subject you want to talk about. Don't forget, respectfully, we're not arguing, we're just discussing. It's never an argument, because I'll always listen to you. Hopefully you'll listen to me, and it'll always be a discussion. Love you guys. See you next time.